So, in this instruction course, we'll be talking about management of simple primary and recurrent pterygium. And pterygium, we all know that it has a long history. Right from the time of Sushruta, it has been documented. And surgery has always been the procedure of choice, but recurrence has always been the main issue uh, with all types of surgery. So we have to find we will try to find a solution to this thing. The currently the most accepted surgical procedure of choice is conjunctival autografting. So there are different techniques with this. We'll talk in detail about this conjunctival autografting procedure, and then the difficult situation, that is the recurrent pterygium with use of amniotic membrane grafting or use of MMC. And then lastly, Dr. Tuhin Chaudhary will talk about the unique procedure of slit. So now I request Dr. Rohan Mohanto to talk about the different conjunctival autografting procedures.
Yeah. Thank you, Shantanuda, for giving me this opportunity. Is my screen visible and am I audible?
Yes, sir, very much.
Can you please start the timer also? So I'll be talking on technique. Hello. I'll be talking on techniques of conjunctival autografting in primary pterygium. Our aim is to replace the pterygium with a healthy piece of bulbar conjunctiva to cover up the bare sclera. Now, why autograft? Conjunctival autograft surgery is generally regarded as the procedure of choice for the treatment of primary and recurrent pterygium because of its efficacy and long-term safety. It has comparable recurrence rates to that of mitomycin C and beta irradiation. No risk of site-threatening complications associated with mitomycin C or mitomycin C or beta irradiation usage. Now coming to conjunctival autograft. Our preferred method is to excise the base of the pterygium to approximately 4 to 6 millimeters from the limbus. And then a free conjunctival graft is harvested from the superior bulbar conjunctiva and is sutured in place to cover the bare scleral defect. A free conjunctival graft is harvested from superotemporal bulbar conjunctiva. We should avoid inclusion of any Tennant's tissue, avoid conjunctival buttonhole formation, and the size of the graft is 1 millimeter larger in all dimensions than the conjunctival defect at the surgical site. Now coming to the technique. So this is how pterygial rhexis is carried out. It is pulled apart from the corneal surface and it's undermined from the overlying conjunctiva and underlying tissue. And the corneal surface is polished using a diamond bar. This is an optional procedure. This can be done with the help of a crescent blade itself if you don't have this diamond bar. Then the pterygial tissue is isolated. And is separated carefully to avoid buttonholing. Then the base of the pterygium is cauterized and then excised. So the redundant portion of the conjunctiva is also excised. Measurement is taken. A 0.5 millimeter excess is included. And then the conjunctival tissue is being separated at the superotemporal area of the bulbar conjunctiva. It is ballooned in order to separate it from the underlying tenons. The conjunctival tissue is undermined and is freed from the tenons. Then the excision is carried out and is further separated with the help of crescent blade. And this is perhaps the best technique to separate it from the tenons because it separates the tenons tissue to the maximum amount. Then the conjunctival graft is taken. If tenons tissue is attached to that, it is excised and then it's put over the bare sclera and then sutured in place. So this is the technique is all about. So these are some of the variants of conjunctival autograft. Now coming to conjunctival limbal autograft. In order to address the presumed limbal stem cell deficiency in the pterygium, conjunctival limbal autograft has been used to include the limbal stem cells in addition to the conjunctival graft. Inclusion of limbal stem cells in the conjunctival graft may act as a barrier to conjunctival cells migrating onto the corneal surface. And limbal conjunctival grafts includes approximately 0.5 millimeter of the peripheral limbus. Now coming to the technique, a circumferential incision approximately 100 micron deep is made at first in the cornea, 0.5 millimeter from the limbus. The graft should not exceed 6 millimeter. The conjunctival graft is created and continued anteriorly to include 0.5 millimeter of the peripheral cornea already dissected. Now, if you come to the technique, the conjunctival, the pterygial excision is carried out in the same usual manner. The bed is prepared. Now the measurement is taken. A mark is made on the corneal, the limbus, and then about a 0.5 millimeter into the cornea, clear cornea, a 100 micron depth incision is given. The conjunctiva is dissected using the the dissection of the conjunctiva is similar to that of the autograft procedure, except the limbus is included in this. So this is how the conjunctiva is again ballooned and is undermined from the tenons. So moving anteriorly, this part is very important. The tenons is separated. And then the most crucial part, to include the limbal stem cells. This is how it is being dissected into the clear cornea. This part is very crucial and is a bit technically challenging. So after doing 1 or 2 cases, you will be conversant with the dissection procedure. At this point of time, you should not injure the conjunctival, overlying conjunctival tissue. So this you can see the clear the tip of the blade through the clear cornea. And now we have reached the correct area. So this is how the limbal stem cells are included. And it is then dissected from the superiotemporal area and is now freed from all the tenons tissue and then sutured in place over here in the correct orientation, because it should not be, the orientation should not change, because the whole idea of putting the, taking up the limbal stem cells will be lost. Now it is sutured in place. So the drawbacks is technically more demanding and time consuming to perform, but there is no conclusive evidence regarding the superiority of limbal conjunctival autografts over conventional conjunctival autografts in routine cases. And there is a risk of limbal damage at the donor site. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Owen. Now I invite Dr. Jayanshu Sengupta to talk about the management of recurrent pterygium, use of MMC and amniotic membrane transplantation. Dr.
So
Jayanshu, please.
Dr. Mitra, if I'm allowed, I might go to the other hall for this next presentation, please.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Owen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shantanu. I will be just, yeah. It's visible, right, Shantanu?
Yes, sir. Yes, visible.
So we have certain difficult situations in pterygium surgery where we have a double-headed recurrent pterygium or a pterygium showing the cystic degenerative changes. And when we are dealing with the recurrent pterygium, we have to keep in mind the scarring of the potential donor area where from the previous, if a grafting has been done previously, so that area will be scarred. And there are also possibilities of higher possibilities of graft dehiscence or disparities, and we can induce a Staines like picture in this situation. So we can have a scleral bit perforation or a Dellen post this form of surgeries. So obviously a recurrent pterygium is more aggressive with corneal and conjunctival scarring, and there is an associated stem cell deficiency. It is always better, as Dr. Oyanmanthop highlighted, to include a, if possible, to do a CLG in this situation. The main reasons for this recurrence are mostly if we are dealing with, if we have used thick grafts in the primary cases, if there is an excessive conjunctival dissection where we have done a deep dissection at the clack site, poor trimming of the graft, and it is not well anchored to the surrounding cornea, so it goes, it retracts, and then nothing is left empty. So tissues from surrounding areas, they try to proliferate and cover that area, and that is one of the reasons why we have a recurrence. So evaluating these cases is very important because we have to take into account the cylindrical effect. Before we intervene, we have to understand whether it is inducing any cylindrical power. So it is better to go for the topography. It is very important to check the diplopia charting and note down the movements, because that will give us an idea about the involvement of the muscles. If we can mark out the previous excision margin, so it is always necessary to go beyond that and check the health of the superior limbus, and obviously check the glaucoma status, because the glaucoma guys will not leave us apart if we damage their area. So we have to understand whether there is an early recurrence. In early recurrence, we can use a local infiltration of MMC, or we can use the topical cyclosporin, and many a times we may be able to prevent further growth of the recurrence. But in majority situations, it is not possible. So we have to keep in mind that when we are having a pterygium, the first intervention needs to be the best intervention, and that is going to prevent the future complications. So what the options that we have, we can, if the superior donor side is severely scarred, and if we do not have much of a area from where we can harvest the conjunctiva, we can use the AMG. But it is always advisable or preferable to use a combination of AMG with conjunctival autograft. Conjunctival with autograft with mitomycin C is also practiced by many people, because it's very easy to apply mitomycin C, but then one has to be very careful about the concentration and the time of application and things like that, so that the person does not land up with other complications related to the mitomycin C. So regarding the surgical principles, one has to be very careful about like in this situation, we have a broad head of the pterygium. Now, in this situation, we find that the superior the superior conjunctiva is not very much affected. So we undermine the head of the pterygium and we dissect it from the cornea. It is very easy to dissect. I don't have a diamond bar like many people have it. Diamonds are rich. Diamonds are possessed by rich people. So I use a 15 number blade to clean the corneal surface, and then I tried. In these situations, it is very important to preserve the conjunctiva as much as possible and use minimal cautery to have just sufficient enough for the surgery to take place, so that the visibility is good enough. And in these situations, I always mark the site of the donor, because I do not want to land up with an undersized graft, because these grafts will definitely scar. I think removing the tenons is very important to have a successful surgical outcome. And then I dissect it with a 15 number blade. Once this grooving is done, in recurrent pterygiums, I prefer to put in a stay suture, as many as possible at the limbus, and then if I find that the fibrosis or the scarring is less, I do prefer I do use a glue, and I put the conjunctiva back in position and ensure that it is secured adequately with the bed as well as the dissected margins of the cornea. So once we dry it up, we cover the superior donor area with cautery, or we can use a Weichel suture, and we check the mobility of the eye to see whether there is any graft retraction or some area is coming up. If we notice something of that sort, it is preferable to use a suture and secure that portion even in spite of using a glue. So these are this is another situation where we have a recurrent fibrotic. In the first situation, the underlying scarring was not much. Probably the person did not undergo a conjunctival autograft, and in the primary surgical procedure, probably the head of the pterygium was excised. But in this, we found that the adherence to the underlying tissues was much stronger, and in such situations, we do prefer securing the bed with a layer of amniotic membrane so that the healing is much better and forms an extra layer of protection between in the progression of the recurrence. So once that is laid down in place, we secure it with the help of with the help of tenon-nylon sutures passed tangentially to the limbus. So this is a limbal stay suture that we are passing. Once that is done, we harvest the graft as we had demonstrated previously. We put an overlay on top of the amniotic membrane, and then again we put the stay sutures. And in this, I would prefer more than one stay suture because when the fibrosis take place, that is a stronger force of displacement. So obviously the grafts can retract, the grafts can be lost, and in these situations we pass more than one stay suture at the limbus to secure the graft. In most of these cases, I prefer not securing, particularly when I'm using an amniotic membrane and a conjunctival autograft in combination. If I use glue, I will use glue for the basal layer, that is the amniotic membrane layer, and on the top layer, I would prefer securing the conjunctival autograft with the sutures. If that is, I do not usually prefer securing the conjunctival autograft with the help of penicillins if it is for a recurrent pterygium. So these are certain post-op pictures of the patient, so showing fantastic recovery which is taking place. So it is very important to do justice and exhibit passion and patience in these situations to achieve the best possible outcome while dealing with recurrent pterygiums. Thank you, Shantananda. Thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Jayanshu. It's a very nice presentation. Now I invite Dr. Tuhin Chowdhury to talk about slit procedure in the management of pterygium.
Shantananda, how long I have to talk?
You can talk 12 minutes.
12 minutes, okay.
12 to 15 minutes.
Okay. Okay, is it visible now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, at the outset, my sincere thanks to Dr. Mitra for this opportunity. Next few minutes, I will be talking on novel slit technique in pterygium management. We all know that stem cells, its expansion and transplantation to treat a variety of ocular surface disorders is one of the most remarkable achievements in modern stem cell biology. And these stem cell populations comprise of 0.5 to 10% of the total cell population, and it is found in the skeletal muscle, skin, intestine, and eye. And these are the specialized undifferentiated cells capable of self-renewing, capable of indefinite proliferation, and responsible for cellular replacement and regeneration. So these are the cells which are present in the palisades of the port, and these are poorly differentiated cells having primitive cytoplasm and long cell cycle duration. These are the cells which maintain this normal corneal epithelium and acts as a barrier to prevent corneal neovascularization of the area. So if we look at the schematic representation of the limbal stem cells, these are present in the basal epithelium of the limbus and give rise to this limbal stem cells, the rotor limbal stem cells give rise to transient amplifying cells and the terminally differentiated cells and then suprabasal epithelium at the limbus. Some stem cells migrate superficially within the limbal area, and usually these cells go from this periphery to the center, and this corneal epithelium is renewed after every 7 to 10 days. There are various theories in the pathogenesis of pterygium, and Singh et al. First postulated that the pterygium may represent an area of localized limbal stem cell deficiency. So in this area, there is localized limbal stem cell deficiency. That's why there is conjunctivalization of the cornea and leads to this pterygium formation. And the benefits of using et al. But later the reports are various reports are available, but it is suggested that only amniotic membrane transplantation is not the procedure of choice for pterygium surgery. In those cases, we have to supplement with either congenital autograft or with other procedures. We have to do that. So, because this AMT, along with this limbal stem cell deficiency, it is this pathogenesis. So, it is speculated that if we include limbal epithelial stem cells over amniotic membrane transplants, the results may be better. In recurrent pterygium, which exhibits more aggressive fibrovascular growth pattern, and thus it is inclined to cause significant amount of conjunctival inflammation leading to symblepharon formation with motility restriction, corneal scarring, and limbal stem cell deficiency, making repeated surgery difficult and hazardous to perform. In double-headed pterygium, one has to harvest a large area of conjunctiva for autograft techniques, and many a time it may not be feasible in all the cases. So in these cases, one can do autologous slate, which is a relatively straightforward surgery. So the thing is that there is a destruction of the limbal stem cells by UV light, and that leads to this pterygium formations. And as I mentioned earlier, stem cells serve as a proliferative barrier between the cornea and the conjunctival epithelium, preventing the growth of conjunctival epithelium onto the cornea through contact inhibition. Sangwan et al. First described slate in 2012 as a technique for the treatment of unilateral limbal stem cell deficiency. Now it is even used for bilateral limbal stem cell deficiency. And Buantes et al. First, that means they first reported in 2015, and that this mini slate can be used for the treatment of pterygium. And in that series, out of 10 cases, they didn't have a single recurrence. So what are the surgical steps for pterygium? First is that you have to prepare the recipient as like in all stem cases. Then you have to take the limbal biopsy, that is donor limbal stem cell preparation from the same eye in the primary pterygium or other healthy eye in case of recurrent pterygium. And then distribution of the limbal transplants over the amniotic membrane graft, and then placement of a bandage contact lens. So this is a patient who had this bi-headed pterygium. So it was not possible to have larger. This patient also had this glaucoma, so it was not possible to get this large congenital autograft. So we did this slate technique in this case. So this pterygium excision is same like before, that everything we have to remove this first conjunctiva, then remove this Tenon's tissue. Then go for amniotic membrane transplantation with epithelium side up and stomal side down. And put a stay suture as mentioned by Dr. Jiangshu. Then over this corneal side, we have to glue it, as well as in the bare sclera also you have to put this glue and then fix this pterygium. So amniotic membrane is fixated and it is tucked on, in the underlying conjunctiva. Same way in the opposite side also it is done. So now amniotic membrane transplantation is completed. Now I have to take this limbal tissue from the same eye. This is from the superior bulbar conjunctiva. As Dr. Mohanto mentioned that we have to go at least 0.5 to 1 millimeter ahead of the surgical limbus to get this limbal stem cells. So depth should be around 80 to 100 micron. Then that limbal tissue is cut in small pieces. And then distributed over the amniotic membrane. It should be placed in this just inside the limbus. Now it is believed that these stem cells will proliferate and will go both this way as well as this way and will cover this defect. And now a bandage contact lens is put. So this is the same patient who had this double-headed pterygium, and this is the postoperative period after 14 months. There is no recurrence, and this is the area of this donor area. It is quite healed nicely. So again, Ednick et al. They reported in 4 cases that SLATE can be helpful even in recurrent pterygium, and that procedure addresses a key pathological process in pterygium development and should be considered in aggressive and recurrent cases. This is a patient who had this recurrent pterygium. So as this mentioned earlier that in recurrent pterygium, first we have to go for superficial dissection and then go for deeper dissections. And so you have to remove all those fibroid tissues and amalgamated tenons area. And in all these cases, we have to use this mitomycin C 0.02% for 2 minutes. Then put this amniotic membrane over the bare area. And it is fixated by using fibrin glue. In all those cases, even though you are putting this fibrin glue, you have to use this sutures, maybe 6-vicryl, because that there is the possibility that this amniotic membrane may be displaced. So if it is displaced, then these limbal transplants also will get dislodged. So you have to better put some sutures also in these cases. Again, putting the stay sutures. Oh. Now I am taking this is from other eye. I am taking this limbal tissue from other eye because this patient earlier underwent this congenital autograft, so could not take the graft from that side area. So taking this limbal tissue from other eye. Then same way we are just cutting in small pieces and then putting over this amniotic membrane and putting fibrin glue and wait for 1 minute and then put this BCL. This is on first post-operative day. This is after 2 weeks. And I didn't have the this longer follow-up because this patient lost during this lockdown time. So another patient who had pseudopterygium with significant symblepharon. This patient had multiple metal injury, and so this technique can be modified to take a larger conjunctival autograft because here there is loss of conjunctival tissue. So unless we address this conjunctival loss of conjunctival tissue, then there is chance of recurrence of this again, this symblepharon. So conjunctival peritomy was made and fibrous tissue over the cornea is dissected by a blunt dissection method using the spatula and then removed using corneal scissors. And then all those fibrous tissues are removed. So from other eye, what I am doing that, I am taking this both conjunctival autograft as well as slit tissues. So this is the area of limbal biopsy, and which I am taking, and then rest is this conjunctival autograft. So it should be very thin, that limbal tissue. Now it is separated from the graft, and now this graft is, that means conjunctival autograft is put over the bulbar conjunctiva. And then I am putting again amniotic membrane.
It's not running the video.
Is it running now?
Yes.
Okay. So I am just putting this amniotic membrane and then put this limbal tissue and then just suturing that amniotic membrane with tenonylon circumferential suture and putting a BCL here. And as because there was symblepharon, so I'm putting this symblepharon ring along with suture torsorrhaphy. So if there is any healthy corneal epithelium, this should be left undisturbed on the cornea as it is normal limbal epithelium with associated conjunctiva. So the biggest question is that is slit really beneficial in pterygium? The mini slit technique, unlike CAG, may offer many advantages. This procedure is likely to restore the normal anatomy of the limbus, as it is presumed to be to repopulate the altered limbal stem cells. This procedure preserves the superior conjunctiva, hence for future glaucoma surgery. This surgery is highly suitable in patients with a limited conjunctiva like previous multiple surgeries or patients who are having chronic cicatrizing conjunctivitis. So to conclude, novel slit technique in which AMG is combined with mini slit for pterygium management is quite useful. This procedure is quite easy to learn and believed to be an interesting solution for those patients where conjunctiva to be preserved as much as possible. And this technique is suitable alternative to the current gold standard, considering its effectiveness and less recurrence risk and less postoperative discomfort, including other complications. Thank you. Thank you, Shantanu, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Tuhin Chaudhary, for elaborating such a unique and difficult procedure in such great difficult situations.
All right,
So,
moving. Yes,
just one moment. We still have time. 5:25, you told.
yes, we do have time, but are you done with your session, sir?
No.
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce you. That's okay. Go ahead, sir.
So right now my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay. So just to wrap up the whole thing, we know that the graft is fixated by either by suturing or by glue, and the glue mechanism is like the human coagulation process. It forms a fibrin clot by reaction with prothrombin and thrombin, and so it's a synthetic process. The glue is costly, so we thought that if the synthetic glue can be helpful, so why not the natural blood produced in the field of surgery and use it as a clot to fix the graft. So we have developed this unique procedure of graft fixation without suturing and without the use of synthetic glue. We use the auto blood. So here the thin film of blood clot is formed over the wear area while you are making the donor graft. It's a very thin, slightly larger size donor graft without the tenons, and it's now lying over just by the side of the bare area. The blood clot has been formed over that area, and this will be our glue in this procedure. So now this graft will be flipped over this bare area, and we have to oppose the edges of the graft with the recipient conjunctiva at various places, taking our time. At least 3 to 5 minutes time should be given for this apposition of the graft, so the graft is not dislodged. This auto blood is now acting as our glue. So this is the fixation of the graft, taking away the excess serum, and go on fixing the different places by pinching the donor graft with the recipient conjunctiva. So the dislodgement of this graft should not be done in the immediate postoperative period. So we use perivalvular anesthesia in these cases and postoperative eye patching for at least 4 to 6 hours. So these are the postoperative pictures of following suturings, fibrin glue, and this auto blood technique. The complications of conjunctival grafting surgery in pterygium are fortunately very minimum. So we are talking, these are a few situations which we can face after the surgery. This is the seroma, the hematoma. These are innocuous things. But if there is a non-limbal edge recession for more than 3 to 4 millimeter, we have to either suture it or regraft that area. And if there is a graft loss, then we have to take the patient immediately up for surgery again. And this is one complication I am going to talk about. This is called a bow stringing. That is actually an overhanging of the conjunctiva, which is slightly more than adequately sized. It is overhanging onto the cornea, and cosmetically the appearance is not very good. So you just make a cut with a 11 Butt-Packer blade or a side port instrument of the phaco, and cut and excise the excess part of the overhanging conjunctival graft. So now it looks fine. So here the main thing was that which surgery to do and when to do the surgery for a pterygium. These are the basic questions we face. So let us take a review of the literature. We found that Bayer-Schleder technique or simple excision technique has an unacceptable high recurrence rate, and Bayer-Schleder with MMC, the recurrence rate decreased, but the fatal complications with MMC were reported, even loss of eye. And then we found that conjunctival autografting has a very acceptable recurrence rate with no fatal complications, and it can be combined with the amniotic membrane transplant. And combined conjunctival autografting with amniotic membrane transplant gives perhaps a bit more successful result than conjunctival autografting technique alone. But again, amniotic membrane transplantation is a difficult procedure and requires some other tissue to be harvested. And as Dr. Mohanto pointed out, that there is no significant issue regarding conjunctival autograft and limbal conjunctival autograft in primary pterygium, but may have a better result limbal conjunctival autograft in recurrent pterygium cases. Then regarding the fixation of the graft, the fibrin glue versus sutures, the fibrin glue has a downright advantage. The postoperative period and the recurrence rate, everything is more comfortable. And autoblad may be an alternative to fibrin glue where the glue is not available because of cost or other situations. So our questions was when to do the surgery. So in case of primary pterygium, if the grade is 3, advancing pterygium, corneal encroachment is more than 4 millimeter, and there are refractive changes associated with the pterygium, we should go for immediate surgery. And recurrent pterygium, we should always go for immediate surgery. And how to do this? I think we have been able to, through our description, we have been able to answer that question, where we should do, either we should do a simple excision or we always go for a tissue graft. We should always go for a tissue graft. And conjunctival autograft is sufficient for primary pterygium. In case of recurrent pterygium, we should think about CLAG. We should think about CAG with amniotic membrane or slit procedure in very difficult situation like the double pterygium or symblepharon. Regarding fixation of the graft technique, glue should be the primary choice, and suturing should be avoided as much as possible. Adjuvant like use of adjuvant like MMC should be very cautious, should be the lowest strength for minimum duration possible, and amniotic membrane should be reserved in difficult situations. So thank you everybody for joining this session. Over to you, ma'am.